Hello, I am in the beautiful country of France, living in this amazing city of Aurillac.
I'm 22 years old.
I am a LSU student right now.
My artistic specialty is mostly technical theater.
And I play the character of the pilot.
Coming to Aurillac has become so special to all of us, and to me in particular, because it's a place of contemplation, a place to reflect, a place to slow down.
I just had a conversation with my mom and I was telling her about how crazy all of this was and how different it is from just staying in the United States.
I come from a very big city, Houston, Texas. I lived there for about 16, 17 years. It's a very, very popular, busy city. A lot of people work, they make money, and then they kind of forget about their lives. It's not like that here. Here in France, from what I have seen, especially in Aurillac, is that they work so that they can live. They enjoy the day, the night, they meet up with friends afterwards. Stores close whenever they want to, there's no 24-hour Walmart. There's no need for anyone to be so stressed out. That's the biggest thing. And coming from America to Europe, is the way of life here is beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful. I love that every single thing, every building, it's all about the art and culture of things. It's not just for industry. Nothing's just built fast because it needs to be built fast. Everything seems to have time and effort into making it beautiful, and not just, okay, we need to put up a building just to put it up. Everything has some kind of artistic effect to it, and you could tell that there's just an amount of depth and beauty into every single part of life here, which I think is really beautiful.
It's always mind-blowing to realize how old Europe is, because America is only about 200-something years old, and France has been around here for a while. We went to a store somewhere, and they said we've been here since built, say, by his grandfather and like a great-great-great-grandfather in like 83, like 83 BCE, 83 like after. Dang, that's crazy. It's crazy to think about how old the stuff is here, and it makes it even more wonderful.
I think the city, like all the cities I've been to, are so incredibly beautiful, and it's just so interesting to see the old mixed with the new as well as it does, because in America mostly there's hardly anything that's like old, and like even then it's like only 200 years old, where meanwhile we have like statues that have been placed thousands of years before, and it's so interesting at how well like Europe manages to preserve everything.
The importance of art in the culture of European culture, you can tell that everyone is very interested in seeing our performance and supporting our performance. And it's not so much just our parents coming to see us, or just people who personally care about us. They care about the art.
Everyone has to slow down. Then we can work on the show. We can polish it more. We can really make it the best it can be before we go to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, the largest arts festival in the world. Their show, I hope, will be right there in the mix, doing well. It's a place for the students to discover that they can be professional. Going to the festival also opens their eyes to a whole much bigger, broader spectrum of types of performance.
Artistic-wise, I would love to connect with people. I would love to talk to different artists and talk to different people and talk to different artists and producers and directors and actors and performers, and just talk to them about the business, talking about being professional. Coming from a student, I would love to be able to understand like what's the theater scene, what's the performance scene, what's whatever kind of art they're doing. I want to learn about it. I also would love just to be able to experience art and see as many things as possible. I want to be able to look and find as many things that can inspire me, that can move me as possible, and I just want to enjoy the festival.
I plan to meet with as many people as I can. I'm very new to all of this. I've been acting for about 6 months, so I need, I want to go and absorb as much information as I can from professional actors. Meet with them, get connected, and hopefully, I can take some of that with me back home.
I want to see a lot of shows. Again, I like improvisational comedy or improvisational theater, so I'm going to see, one show caught my eye was one called improvisational, or it's improvised Sherlock Holmes, where you just make up a story on the spot that like fits the narrative of what a Sherlock Holmes story would be like, as well as other physical theater shows I got to see for my grade. I'm doing this as part of a study abroad trip for my professor, as well as for the school.
So for me, pedagogically, when the students come back to LSU, they are invigorated and they have a new sense of purpose, and they understand where they want to go in the world and where they want to see where they see themselves professionally when they graduate. This is not only is a great adventure, but it's also a gauntlet. They are paying for the experience of what it's like to be in a professional touring company without the risk.
I mean, I love this whole experience. It's a lot of fun to be part of a show that's touring in Europe.
It's just been such an amazing experience to just work with professionals in another country and just learn how it's done somewhere else that's not the US. And I'm really excited to just have that experience, so that way when I go and become a professional, I can say that I've had this experience with other people from around the world. So I just thank you for that, and thank you for all of your hospitality.
It's something that takes me about a year to begin planning and organizing, and takes a lot of work and a lot of preparation to recruit the students that I need, to raise the money that I need, to reserve the housing, and to find a venue where we can perform the show before we've even created the show. So the creation of the show has to start very early, even before I know what it is. So the image came first, and it was only after that that the name arrived, Dream Logos. So it has to kind of work backwards to most productions. I have found that I need to recruit a wide variety of students who are aerialists, or who are dancers, or who are actors, or people who like to do more than one. One of the first decisions I had to make was to find a composer. Jesse Allison, who's on faculty in the School of Music. So we started meeting August last year. Late August, early September, we started meeting on a weekly basis. And that was the time when I was reading a lot about Jung, Carl Jung, and reading a lot about, believe it or not, the First World War, how that affected the European mind. And it was a very important period in history where I think the First World War was the nail in the coffin of the Ancien regime. It really was a breakdown of the world as it was for hundreds and hundreds of years. I would say, though, that started with the French Revolution here in Europe. And Carl Jung and his writing that I was so interested in happened right before, on the cusp of the First World War. Death and devastation everywhere. And he didn't understand it. He didn't know what it meant. He was in Aberdeen, Scotland, giving a lecture to scientists like himself when the First World War broke out. And he had to cut short his journey and travel quickly back through Belgium, back home to Switzerland before he was caught behind the war. And it took him 16 years to figure out a way of coming to terms with the anxiety and the paralysis that he had. So he started actively dreaming and writing down by thinking about his anxiety, focusing on the anxiety he felt, and he started writing. I find this was really amazing because he developed a creative process whereby he became a dramatist. He wrote these, what seemed to be, as you read in the Red Book, It's like these stories that unfold like a novel or like a play, because he would have dialogue where he's talking to his own self in the form of different characters. And in doing so, he healed himself.
In all honesty, it's taking the idea of facing our greatest fears, taking man's greatest fears, man's greatest obstacles, from mental illness to breakups, to setbacks, to trying to find oneself in this vast, crazy world, using the idea of a dream. We have a lot of projections, we have a lot of cool lighting, we have a lot of cool stances with dance and aerial silks. But when it gets down to it, this main story is told through the actions of people. This story is told through the greatest ideas of how someone can think about their life and depict their life through their subconscious.
I want to help you. I hope you know I never meant to hurt you.
So I decided to take this idea and taught a class where I asked all my students to do the exact same thing. So they started to develop and they started to write as well. All of this material came forth. Out of them, I started collecting all of this work. Some of it was written like madness. That monologue was written by a student in class. So it's, in a way, it's their show because they have so much of themselves in certain scenes. And so, like for instance, Christina, she's choreographed a lot. She even helped to write some things.
As a choreographer, I worked on specific dance pieces in the show, mainly the minion piece, we call it the minion piece, at the very end of the show. It's more contemporary based and more fluid. And essentially it is just kind of putting an end to the show and the dancers and the dancing, and definitely it's personally my favorite piece to dance, just because it is a time where you're kind of, it's more emotional, so it's more, you get to understand the ending and it's more rounding out the dance. I've never designed costumes before, so this is the first show I've ever designed costumes for, and physically sewn the costumes together. It was really rewarding in the end of things, but it was hard to find a balance of not a distracting costume, but also a costume that fit the storyline.
I portray a character named Alejandro. He goes through a very set of addictions that he has, power and wealth and, you know, women, drugs, all that. And a lot of the things hit reality, you know, things that I've lived before. So the way that I train is I revisit those moments in my mind, and I use those emotions to help propel me on stage.
We are performing at what's called the C South Main Theater. We open on the 2nd of August and we play every day at 15:15. It's easy to remember. And the show runs 40 minutes, which is perfect because we rented the venue for 1 hour and we need time to set up and we need time to break down, because that's the way it is there in the festival. You have to leave the theater the way you found it, and the clock is ticking.
Yeah, I'm pretty nervous because my job is to like set up and take out within 5 minutes every single day. And so I'm really nervous that I hope I know it well enough where I can make sure I disconnect everything without breaking anything. So, but I've been practicing a lot since I started the process, and Jesse and Jim have been incredibly helpful. So I think it'll be all right.